All right, y'all.
Hilarious.
Welcome back to the Coffee Chat, where we serve up leadership, mentorship, and authentic conversations over your favorite cup of brew. I'm your host, Diondria Brown, and today's episode is a must-sip moment. We're diving into AI, DEI, and what it means to lead with both soul and strategy. So I am here with someone who is near and dear to my heart. This is one of my favorite mentors. I'm so inspired by her. She is someone who doesn't just talk about leadership, she actually builds it. I'm thrilled to welcome Erin Austin. And before we applaud, I'm going to say she's a dynamic learning strategist, a speaker, a certified professional in talent development. And Erin has over a decade of empowering leaders and organizations to navigate those complex change with confidence and clarity. So, Erin, welcome today. I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk to you. We're going to talk about inclusive leadership, AI driven transformation, professional, all of the things that
All the
fall
things.
under your umbrella. Yes.
I'm so
So,
excited to be here. You make me sound so good.
I mean, you are amazing. We're going to get into a really good episode. I'm super excited to talk to you, but I want to pause so we can just kind of talk about how we got here and how we actually met because I'm
Yeah.
introducing everyone to my mentors. So this is just a slice of, the pie of me and Erin.
Oh yeah. If I recall correct, we met through G
Yeah.
which
Hmm.
is we work together at Genesis, the tech company. And G-Beam is our Genesis Black Employees and Allies membership group. So our DE&I, or our inclusion and belonging uh, entity there for our African American or our Black employees, and allies. Don't miss them. And you
Yes.
were on our team.
Yes, Erin, you were actually so Erin is being very humble right now. She was actually the co-chair of the DE&I group for our organization. She was very instrumental in making change. She was personally impacting the lives of those Black employees and allies at Genesis. She personally impacted me as well. I was inspired by her leadership style as well as her professional speaking style. That's probably my favorite thing about you, Erin. Like the way you can command a room, the way you can talk to people. I really wish we were in person because the energy would
The
be
way
like
that it comes,
it would be
that
out.
is correct.
Yeah.
I crack up when I hear people say that because I would say this is years in the making. I come from, look, I'm sitting here, I have family pictures. I come from a family of speakers. So we start out early. You know, them Easter speeches? Yeah,
Yeah.
let's start with Easter speeches. This way, bring Easter speeches back.
Bring my god
Cause
kids did
it,
speeches last week. They clowned, but they did it. I was like, bring it
see,
back. We had to get up and
yeah.
speak, like memorize and vocalize. That was a good time.
So like I say, I started there, but a lot of it is years in the making of getting to this point of being that type of speaker and be able to command a room. That, and I'm gonna say really good genes because I come from a family of preachers too. So
Okay, so it's just in your blood. See, I am jealous because like I got a little bit of it, but I had to go to Toastmasters to bring it out. You just got it all around you. You was standing up in church every Sunday having to do the
pretty
announcement.
much, pretty much. When everybody else didn't want to stand up in church, we were standing up in church. You are, and my grandfather being a pastor, you always got called on to do something. So it came naturally. That's also a part of leadership. So that was a development of leadership skills that I didn't know I was getting until I'm down the road and people are like, "How are you a leader?" I'm like, "What you mean?
Been
We've been
there.
doing this. What you mean?"
So actually, I am like super excited to kind of get a little bit about your leadership journey and how we got here. But you right on cue. I was gonna ask you before we hop in, what's in your cup today? I got my Pilates princess mug. I took two Pilates classes and bought a mug. Don't
Look
think I'm
at you. That's okay. You were jumping on. You were jumping on. I have my Yeti today, and I am sipping on some tea right now.
okay, cool. I
Nice
got my
afternoon tea. I
afternoon.
didn't bring out the tea set. I didn't bring out the tea mug because I was like, we're gonna be in this for a minute. I want to stay warm.
See, you was thinking smart. You was thinking smart. I got iced coffee from Starbucks in here.
Oh,
Usually I make my own coffee, but today I just went out and grabbed
that's
some. So
okay. That's okay. Go ahead.
you stands in. But we're gonna jump into this conversation because I really want to talk about your journey into the professional world. Like, when do you feel like leadership came into play, and what drew you to the intersection of leadership development, technology, and DE&I? Because I feel like all of those things are kind of encompassing of like what you do.
I mean, that's a excellent question. Similar to what I was sharing before, like it's just I've always done things. Being I would say being from the city that I'm from little, I won't say a little city. I keep saying it, but I'm for a city of Saginaw, Michigan. I'm just north of Flint and of Detroit. People will be like, "How far is that from Detroit?" It's about depending on who driving, hour, depending on who driving, what parts you're going to, right? But my grandfather was a pastor here for 44 years. So, I mean, it's you could come to this city and you'll say, "My name is Erin Austin," and they're immediately like, "Are you related to Pastor Austin?" It's like,
Okay.
yes. And he's gone. He's been gone now for almost 5 years, but people still know who he is. He has a street named after him. He's left his mark in the city. So, being from a family of that man, like you're tapped on the shoulder to do a lot of things growing up. And so from early on, one, I was able to watch leadership in action through him, and two, you were able to practice it. When others were out hanging out, here I am, president of the NAACP Youth Council. What am I doing? Right? I'm traveling. I'm out here doing, I don't know, doing my thing, president, even simple things like president. We had a little, I know in some cities you'll have like your Greek organizations have youth groups. We still had those. So being a leader, having a leadership role in our youth groups, on youth usher board, president of that, and all kind of like oratorical contests. That's another one because I had to present in a contest where I was speaking. So it was so many things that I was involved in that were cultivating these skills that I just didn't know that I needed. And then of course you want to be involved. And so getting to um college and then joining groups. So you're like, well, whatever. I'm used to being in some kind of leadership capacity. So I'm gonna jump on to be in a leadership capacity there. And then near and dear to my heart, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Of course, I was active there, right? Running VPN, all the things. It's like those are skills that I just cultivated, right? And you can do that with, you don't have to be in leadership roles per se, because leadership is not just about a title. It's definitely about the space that you hold and the things that you do. So even being called upon to go to lead a program, or to be in charge of getting some tools, we have you a volunteer, can you get this volunteer activity set up, things like that all help. So by the time I graduated college and went to work, I my thought was I'm gonna do some kind of role where I am in leadership. And so my very first job out of college was an assistant manager at Walmart.
Okay. So you
Look,
went right
y'all, I
to the
went
field.
right in. I was in one of the first classes where they were starting a program, where they were bringing in college educated individuals to be a part of their assistant manager program, where previously you worked your way up through the ranks, which is not a bad deal. I know people talk really bad about Walmart. I still have good things to say about Walmart. My sister still works there. I'm gonna tell her this, and she's gonna listen. Like, Erin, stop saying that. My sister is high up. She's an executive in Walmart, y'all. So there are people like us on executive teams in Walmart, right? But I started off there and I was 23. I was actually, when I started, I was 22. I turned 23 while I was working the job. I will never forget that, because I had my birthday. I was working on my birthday and people kept asking me how old I was. And I was like, I'm 23, I'm 23. And I was leading people who were older than my parents, who were my grandparents' age, and they were my employees, right? And it was such,
Pinpoint that too because
yeah.
a similar experience, but in a different vein. When I was 22, and having to lead people or having maybe power, some sort of power over people who were older than I was. So I
So
really,
interesting.
how was that for you at that time, like coming out? I know that they were training you to be in leadership and you had done some things in leadership, but I'm sure when you were leading previously, it was people who appeared as your peers, like physically, right? Like most people
Yeah.
were younger. So how was it when you began to lead people that were older than you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was it was intimidating. I'll say that. But I'll say it in the context, it was intimidating because I was new to the company. I was new to the role. And I'm working with associates who have been in this company 20, 25, 30 years. Right. So of course they knew more than me. And then here I come in and talk about, so why aren't your picks finished? And they're like, wait, who are you to tell me? And I had one of the most interesting experiences I had. So when I graduated college, I graduated with a marketing and management degree, but I had a dual degree, marketing management. And fashion marketing and merchandising was it was a minor. But when I came out, I was like, I have a degree in fashion marketing and management, and I was over the soft line. So that'd be all of the clothes, the infants, like all of that middle section of the store, all your shoes and things. That was mine. And I had associates that were from there. And I remember it was like I've been there a couple of months, and they just this one, her name Miss Judy. Miss Judy was just she knew her area. She kept them together, but me and her would like bump heads, and I never understood why. And we were having a meeting because we were behind in our picks, and I was standing there talking to them, and I remember saying, I don't like guys, I get it and I understand, but you got to understand that this is important. Like I went to school for fashion marketing and merchandising. You know what it means to be, to market and have your clothes on the shelf and have it available for your customers. And you also know what it means for it to look nice in the merchandise. And Miss Judy was like, I didn't know you got a degree in fashion. Yeah. That's why I'm here. That's why they hired me to run the soft lines, right? They didn't hire me to do hardware. And after that, she was like, oh. And then she wanted to talk to me all about the things of fashion. And as soon as she got on board, everybody else was fine. And I was like, huh. That also taught me, like, one, share. Talk to people about what you've done. I know I'm gonna say some of us, people of color, we struggle with sharing ourselves with people at work. I'm not saying you gotta sit here and tell them your whole life story. You don't have to tell them every single thing you did over the weekend, but share a little something, right, with them to let you know you're not just here chilling. Like you did bring something to the table, just like they brought something to the table. You
I
know.
want to touch on that because I feel like that's a really good point, especially for me because I'm younger than in my career now. Don't give me a spring chicken, child. But a lot of the rooms that I go in, I have a different dynamic. I have a different aesthetic. I have a different presence. And it is important to find connection with people.
Mm-hmm.
One, when you're leading a team, but also when you're I mean, for me, I felt like you would say I felt intimidated because I was younger and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, how am I gonna be telling you
Yeah.
what to do? And you my mama age or you're someone's age that I would
Yeah.
respect my elder, but it's still my job to one,
Mhm.
respect you, but also make you respect me. And one of those ways that you can build that respect is through rapport and connection. So I do think that that
Yeah,
was a good thing
absolutely.
up, and also to just let it be known what your expertise is so that
Mhm.
people kind of view you from that. It's like, oh, okay, that's why she's here. Like she young, but she knows her stuff.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah, yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
It doesn't all have to come from I've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah.
Right. I also had to remember that if this were the case, if these people really wanted to do it, they could. So Miss Judy didn't have to be a sales associate. She could have been in my shoes. She could have been an assistant manager. She could have years ago. She could have been an assistant manager. She made the choice not to be. Right, and that's okay if she's made that choice. Me and my sister talk about this a lot. There are some people that they don't want to do, you know, they don't want to do the management role. They don't want to be a people leader. They don't want to climb the ranks. We know a lady for the entire time we've known her pretty much all our life. She was a sales associate at Sears. I don't know if y'all remember department store Sears, but she was a sales associate, and she didn't want to do anything else. She just wanted to be a sales associate. And to me, I was like, if that's what makes you happy, do that. So not everybody wants to climb.
I think that's a good point. But my question to you, right, as a leader, because
Mm-hmm.
as we leave this conversation, I want people to get practical things that they can use as they're going into their leadership roles or as they're thinking about leadership. How do you motivate a person like that? Or like how do you support someone like Miss Judy, right? Miss Judy may have been doing the same thing for 25 years. You know, she's not looking to gain more responsibility. Everybody doesn't want to climb the ladder. Like, as a leader, how do you support Miss Judy after you kind of won her over to, now she's a little more bought into your leadership? How do you support her, still keep her fulfilled as she stays in the same role?
I'm gonna take that and add to it, because not only how do you, as a leader, how do you encourage and motivate associates who don't want to climb, but how about those who do want to climb, but there's no position for them to climb into? That's a
Okay.
big one, right? That's a big one. You deal with that. You have people on both sides of that spectrum when you're leading a team. You have someone who is ambitious, who has the skills, who has the abilities, who wants to climb, but there's no position there for them. And then you have those that are sitting there. I'm dealing with that now on the team I have. You have those who are comfortable where they are. But in order for everybody to do good work, you have to be engaged. You have to be motivated. And one of the things that I do is I am connected with my teams and I find out what motivates them. Like Miss Judy she loved fashion. She loved, the merchandising part of it, putting the outfits together, having her space look presentable. So her and I often talked about what the space would look like. If it was time for a redesign of the floor or a changing of the mod, then we were talking about, okay, what are we going to do when we change the mod? Miss Judy, are you going to come in and change the mod? Like, how are we going to work the team to change it? Because that excited her, right? I have a young man on my team now. He's interested in Asian culture. I was like, great, study all you can about Asian culture, because guess what? We have people who are in APAC that we service. We service Asian Pacific learners. So learn what you can about that culture so that we can pull it into our learning. Guess what he doing? Learn about the culture so he can pull it into the learning. That's keeping him engaged. That's keeping him motivated to do a good job, because now he's representing that part of um, our learner group. But ultimately, it comes down to knowing what people like, what they're interested in, getting to know them, not just looking at your employees, or I call my team members, as team members or as a number. Like, they are people, and treat them as such. They are people who are here to do a job, but in order to do that job, you have to keep them engaged in the business. How do you keep them engaged in the business? You got to learn about
Okay.
what is that, right? I know you and I've talked about that, because I would ask you, like, what do you want to do? Like, what are you motivated by? What excites you?
Look, you still be asking me that.
Because
I'm
I
on my
still,
now, so you like, so what do you really want to do? Like, we know what you do, but what are you looking for? I think I echo what you say. Of course, you know that one of my emerging leadership roles, and I feel like it was a pivot for me, is when I joined the GB leadership team. Because I was one of those people that's like, I want to do my eight and skate when I get to work. I don't want to be on no other teams. I want to be in no leadership. I just want to do my job and go home. But when I got into that capacity, what was a mindset shift for me was how I saw how I could motivate other people to bring out their strengths and to push past their comfort zones. And it was through learning and talking to them.
mm-hmm,
It was through building rapport. It was through me not having a passport, and I shared that, right? Like, for one of my biggest takeaways from my time was one of my team members, and I had this passport situation, y'all. Listen,
Oh.
together, but my passport was expiring, and I just mentioned it, right? Just in passing, in conversation. And it sparked a whole relationship between the two of us, and we got to just a level of connection that we wouldn't have got to if I was just
Mm-hmm.
never sharing anything, right? Like, so what you said was really important in terms of you don't have to tell everybody what you did last weekend or your deepest, darkest secrets, but there are some things that you should share just to bring humanization to you as a leader,
Yeah.
those that are around you, and you can find connections, because her husband wasn't able to go on their trip because his passport was expired. And then like
See.
7 months later, her son was in the same position. His passport was expired. So it just kept becoming like
Mm-hmm.
an
Mm-hmm.
ongoing connecting conversation between the two of us. But it was just off of something that was totally random, but it also planted a seed for our connection. And
Yeah.
I began to be able to lean on her and pull out her strengths and empower her to do more just
Love
based
that.
off that. Because she
Yeah.
also too was like, I'm on the team, I want to help, but I don't want to be in front, right? If nobody wants to be the face, nobody
Mm-hmm.
wants to raise their hand. And we just worked our relationship and built rapport and connected and supported each other. And she was really invested. And I'm like, well, maybe you should do it this time. And she got her
Right.
confidence up to a point where she was able to do it on her own. And it was one of those, similar to what you're saying, is like I found what she cared about, right? Like we brought one of her ideas to life, and I went with it first and I rolled it out first. And then I was like, I think you should take it over this
Mm-hmm.
time with you. You know what I'm
Love
saying? And
that.
rapport building, and as well as that support, in those areas that she felt motivated in, was something
Mm-hmm.
that helped to grow. And I was like, okay, I think I could be a leader, or it got me more interested.
Yeah.
um, so it's interesting to hear all of the, groundwork that you laid in terms of, DE and I from NAACP perspective to, teaching, learning, orating, standing up in church, talking in front of crowds, how you kind of just naturally hone those skills over time. Whereas I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm a late bloomer, right? I came in my 30s and was like, oh, I want to public speak. Or let me go to Toastmasters. Or, oh, I want to lead. Let me volunteer for this group. But it still kind of brings us to an intersection of learning and growing ourselves as well as others. So
Yeah.
I just want
And it's never, I would say it's not about late, it's about being at your time, your right time. Because if you would have tried this a long time ago, it may not have worked out. You may not have been as interested, you may not have had skills that you needed. Like all the
maturity, emotional intelligence, and maturity was not there. It was not
see.
there. It was not there before, but
Hmm.
that's something that you really need as a leader. I mean, I would I would say, I guess I would ask you, how do you feel like that shows up for you in terms of like your emotional intelligence, or how you lead in terms of your, not your feelings, right? Like the greater goal, like how does that show up for you um as you're leading, the because you lead different teams.